Hello, this is Rico Caveglia, and welcome to this episode of Fearless Aging. And today's episode is a really interesting one. It's all about how hair analysis can help to solve your health challenges. And we have a great guest today who's a hair analysis. Well, she's a healthcare practitioner, and she uses hair analysis in her practice. Her name is Lisa Ruffholm, and she helps people of all ages at all stages of health get better scientifically from the cellular level out. She uses hair analysis, several general detoxification modalities, and gives individualized supplement programs specific to each client's own chemistry. She has successfully helped many clients globally through life-changing physical, mental, and emotional challenges for over 7 years. She will support your journey with educated science instead of guessing, and will be available to guide you through the changes that are necessary for your healing. Her primary goal is helping people to gain control for a better quality as well as longevity of life. So Lisa, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate you being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. So I like to always start by asking our guests to just give us a little bit of a brief history of your history and how you got to do what you do and why you do it.
Sure. I was 36 years old and I became very ill. I had been working in the corporate world for 4 years and it was exhausting to me. I was working 12, 14-hour days, and we had tried to start a family for a year and nothing was happening. So we thought one of us was broken. And my husband said, the job is just too stressful. Let's find something else for you. And I quit. And a month later, I got pregnant. So it proved to me that my body stress had actually inhibited that.
Yes.
And then I had 4 children in 5 years.
Wow.
It just kept going.
It was just waiting to come, huh?
It was. So as you can imagine, that was really depleting and exhausting. And it got to the point where I couldn't stay awake for more than 6 hours a day. I would fall asleep sitting in chairs. I fell asleep at the Metrodome during a Twins baseball game, got on the big screen sleeping, and I had heart palpitations. So I went to my doctor and I asked them, what's going on? So they gave me a Holter monitor. They had me on a treadmill test with the gigantic needle standing next to me in case I died off the treadmill. And that was a little intimidating. Then they laid me on a gurney and they did a heart bubble test and put air through my heart to see if I had a hole with the needle on standby again. And come to find nothing. They couldn't really explain it, which frustrated me, and they kind of dismissed me. I knew it wasn't in my head. I could feel it physically. My husband could even feel it at night when I would lay down. So my friend's mom had been doing hair analysis for 30 years, and I said, I had nothing to lose, so let's give it a shot. And come to find out, the bottom line of it all was my sodium and potassium were so low I couldn't regulate my heart.
Right.
It was a simple chemistry electrolyte issue. So,
and mainstream medicine couldn't even figure that out, right?
Our blood is more like a checking account, so it regulated itself pretty well, but my cells were tapping out. Yeah.
Yeah, blood tests, our blood has to kind of regulate itself. If it doesn't keep some sort of balance, particularly with, like I say, sodium and potassium, you're going to die. So that doesn't, it's not a good indication of what else is going on in the rest of your body. That's right. Okay, so once you found that out, and then what did you do from there? So how did you heal yourself?
I got the blood or the hair sample test back, and she called me immediately and she said, we need to get you on some supplements right now because there's no other way I can get it into you quick enough. She was afraid I was actually going to have a heart attack or possibly a stroke. And so she had asked her daughter to bring me supplements, and it was Christmas Eve day. And I thought, I must be dying for her to have her bring them to me Christmas Eve day. But I started, and within 2 weeks, I had such a turnaround. My husband called her and said, thank you for giving me back my wife. Because it was like I came awake again. It was going from a world of black and white to color. It was a whole nother thing. I was alive. I could feel myself. But before I knew anything about real nutrition or cells or how they work, I told my husband I could feel myself dying at a cell level. It was amazing. You just knew. So it did. It brought me back to life and saved me.
Wow. I think what might be helpful for our listeners, tell us later as you begin to study about health and nutrition and all that. What do you think? What did you come up with? Is how you became so depleted? What do you think that? How did that happen to you?
I think it happened during my whole lifetime, and I think it accumulates. I started out a premature baby. I was very sick as a child. I had pneumonia, so I was on antibiotics for a year, tetracycline.
Yeah.
Come to find out, they had given me phenobarbital for colic. Just a multitude just as a child. I had lactose intolerance as a kid. And then I got into teenage years, which is stressful on everybody, and hormone changes. My thyroid almost shut down when I was 13. So I've had a thyroid issue forever, and then I fixed it at 43 years old. So it took me quite some time, but I did figure out how to do it. But just depleted, exhausted, not taking care of myself. I got no exercise at that corporate job. I ate whatever food was available, didn't really have time and energy to do anything else. No exercise, no clean air. I was breathing in the office. I'm in Minnesota, so 3 months of the year is nice weather. The rest is cold. Can't go outside very often, and enjoy yourself. So it was accumulation of everything, and the toxicity just built up, and the depletion just slowly drained me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's really good that you express that. And so, again, I hope that our listeners will realize that that may be something that's going on in your life right now, and that sort of a lifestyle. Everybody's so biochemically unique, and
Mm-hmm.
so some people can get away with it for a longer time than other people. But eventually, if you are stressed out, if you are, not eating a healthy whole food diet, and you're not getting exercise, you're not getting the sleep, it's going to catch up with you sooner or later. And so it's really great that you figure that out. So then tell us, so once you begin to heal, so is that what inspired you to become a healthcare practitioner?
Never thought I would do this in a million years. I was a corporate management kind of person, I thought. But my mentor was 72 and getting ready to retire. And I said, well, what am I going to do? Because I need you. And she said, well, let me train you and you can take care of yourself, your family, and my clients when I retire.
Oh, nice.
So I said, yeah, I'll do it because I needed to pay it forward. I really have a passion and a drive to help other people in that situation, because without them telling me, try this, I think I would be gone.
So you studied this lady.
Mhm.
Was she like a naturopathic doctor, or was she just a nutritionist, or what was she?
She was Dr. Marcia Gakowski.
Oh,
She worked with Dr. Paul Eck, who was the biochemist that
oh
created
yes.
the analytical research lab that I use.
Oh yeah.
And she worked with him for 30 years. They were quite good friends. And then when she did retire, she passed me on to work with another gentleman named Dr. Larry Wilson that worked with him for 18 years. So I've
Mm-hmm.
had really great mentors in the hair analysis world.
Yeah. Okay. One thing before we get more into it, I just want to see what you say to this, because one of the criticisms of hair analysis is that they say, well, there's no real standard, there's no been any real scientific standard of what a healthy hair analysis should, in other words, what combination and relationship and amounts of minerals in the hair should be normal or healthy. So what do you have to say about that?
Analytical research has 44 years of hair analysis, and they put together the numbers for the averages, and it varies very little. I mean, if someone is in an ideal range, they're most likely not going to have disease and a lot of symptoms because their body's optimal. So they've figured out all those algorithms and calculations years and decades ago, and it just has carried forward and hasn't really needed to change a whole lot. The one thing that has changed a lot is the toxicity rates. I'm seeing children with toxicity of 50, 60-year-olds.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't have to do the math and put all that together. And the nice thing that I love about this is it is your chemistry. It is what it is. So it's not my guesswork. It's not me throwing some supplement at you and say, let's see if this works. It's your chemistry, and it tells me what you need and what you have too much of. But yeah, the lab figured all that out, and he was a brilliant biochemist. He had a lot of doctors he worked with. I know he even worked with Anne Louise Gittleman.
Oh yeah,
He
yeah.
was very copper toxic, and for 2 years he worked with her, which he didn't do with a lot of people. So he had the basis of it all before he passed away, and I'm so grateful. It was a great loss.
Okay. Okay. So you say there's no validity to people who say, well, there's no really scientific standard for what is a normal amount of whatever you analyze in your hair.
They could say that about blood work as well. How do
Right.
they know the norms of blood work? They take a group of people and they find the average, and they go off a healthy athletic person, and then they go off a sick person. So,
Right.
it's the same basis. It's just a different
Yeah.
soft tissue biopsy.
Right. Well,
Mhm.
well, obviously nothing's perfect and everyone's different, but it does give you a really good indication of what's going on. So tell us a little bit more about how you use that data and how it relates to different people's health challenges.
Sure. I can see their mineral balances. So if they have too much, they might have a buildup of it. For instance, calcium, they'll have a metastatic amount or too high of a calcium. A lot of times that's a magnesium deficiency because that keeps it in solution in the blood. So they need to balance those two minerals together. There also are calming minerals. So they could have symptoms that are related to that imbalance, which could be anxiety. They could have arthritis issues. So I can clearly see what their mineral levels are reflecting in their symptoms. So if they can balance those, the symptoms go away. So they're fixing their own problem by getting to the bottom foundation of it.
So is it more that almost no matter what symptoms people may have, if you're able to see what either imbalances or deficiencies or too much certain things in the hair analysis, then you're able to solve a lot of different symptoms.
At the very least. I
Yeah.
mean, at the very least, their symptoms are lessened. At the most, I have clients that I say have cured their own cancer. I've had clients that have been told to go home and make their last arrangements, and 6 years later, they're still going, and they've fought cancer in between there.
Hmm.
So it all starts with inflammation and at the cell level, whether there's permeability, if it has the right amount of balance in it, oxidative stress. There's so many different factors deeper than what we're looking at sometimes.
So what else besides the minerals what else can you learn from hair analysis?
I'm looking at their heavy metal toxic load. So I
Hmm.
want to see, a lot of times people don't realize the heavy metals can affect our physical and
Yeah.
our mental and our behavioral.
Right.
uh, People will come and say, I behave in ways that are not normally the way I would. I'm aggressive, but it's not my nature, and they don't understand it. And I'll get their hair back, and they could be very high in iron, and it's making them agitated and aggressive. So once they start to detoxify and they raise their calcium and magnesium, they're calmer and they're less agitated, and their body's functioning better. It affects their blood. It's just a big chain effect. So I'm looking at the toxicity, I'm looking at their adrenal health at the cell level, their thyroid health, cell permeability. So can their cells carry things? Are things getting in their cells too quickly and leaving as far as nutrition or viruses? So I'm just taking a deeper look to see what's going on underneath the blood.
So how can you tell that? How can you tell what if well, as you mentioned, something certain nutrients or substances are not staying in the cell? How do you determine that?
The sodium and potassium ratio between the two can tell me if it's permeable or not permeable. Another thing that I look at is the calcium. If they have a really high calcium level, they can have a calcium shell. So it's almost like an egg around their cell.
Mm-hmm.
So things are having a hard time to get in there. And once they do get in there, they can tear it up and not be able to purge the garbage or the oxidation that's left over.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So once you have gone through your hair analysis, what other tests and analytics do you use, and then how do you put together a whole health program for people?
I try to get a 2 hour window where we can talk, and I get really deeply into their business because I want to look at the person as a whole. So I'm looking at their sleep patterns, their exercise, their diet, what kind of water are they drinking, how much are they drinking, are they on medications, how often do they have a bowel movement, what is their past illness, do they have a diagnosis, family history, symptoms. So I'm trying to get a whole picture of the person and what's going on. And then when I get the hair back, that fills in some of the gaps. Oh, that's why this is going on, and that's why that's going on. And work with them to change the things that need to be changed, such as sleep, mindset, just walking them through that and coaching them. And we have what is called retracing symptoms. When our body goes back and cleans up old assaults, dead cells, we can tend to feel the same symptoms that they left behind. So I help them get through that too.
That sounds really good. You may be familiar with this as well. You know, one of the latest things that I've learned is that you know, we're beginning to have an epidemic of dementia and Alzheimer's, and we've now discovered that there's actually a metabolic waste in our brain, on our neurons. There's actually like an amyloid plaque that builds up on the neurons, and if you're not getting enough sleep, because during sleep is when the brain actually detoxifies itself. And so they've gotten a lot of studies now that people with Alzheimer's and dementia, they have a large buildup of this. It's actually like they call it brain plaque, you know, this amyloid, you know, waste product protein that they have a large amount in their brain, and that could be one of the real factors of causing Alzheimer's and dementia. So I was just curious myself to see if hair analysis can give any clues to that.
The things that I'm looking at as far as that would be the mercury and the aluminum.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times they're hidden, and what we say is they're a poor eliminator. So they're not efficiently eliminating those heavy metals. And we know that there's deeper storages of them. And I like to think of it as like a hoarder house. We have so many closets full of all these heavy metals, and the body is shoving them there because it can't deal with them and it can't eliminate them properly without harm.
Right.
So we can't release all the doors at one time. So I'm trying to help people build their bodies back up so that it can efficiently do that safely, and they can handle it and not feel so cruddy while they detox. But yeah, I primarily look at mercury and aluminum, and those are the two that I've seen relation to. And then I look at, you know, do they have amalgam fillings?
Yeah.
And they see a biological dentist and get those replaced. That clears up a lot of brain fog within itself.
Yeah, good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like everything I'm hearing. I think you're on the right track. You're doing good. You're doing really good.
When we chew, it releases that mercury gas in our brain, you know.
Yeah.
There's things that we don't think about.
That's so important. Okay, so tell us about some of the clients that you've worked with, and some of the things that are there anything in particular that you kind of specialize in that you can really help people with, that you really feel that this is something that you really should come and see you, that you can really help them with?
I've been dealing with all different illnesses, and some people are a little bit ill and some people are very, very ill. Everything from SIBO. Infertility is one of my favorite because it results in a baby, and that's always the joyous thing. Most times it's a copper toxicity, which is almost similar to being on birth control 24/7. So once we can detox and the body's healthy, it'll hold that baby and it'll grow that baby. The tough ones, you know, I do not discourage people from working with their doctors, but we're going to try and find a natural way to help them with things such as cancer. I mean, that's a little more serious. But I have people with SIBO, IBS, Crohn's disease, schizophrenia has been another one that I had a good success with a young man that was kind of violent, and we detoxed him and his violent voices disappeared. So that was a great moment for us.
Yeah, great.
Digestive issues are huge though. They're growing bigger and bigger. One of my nemesis is glyphosate, which is Roundup, and I think that's a big part of why people's guts are falling apart, leaky gut. Yeah,
no question about it. That sounds really good. So tell us just a little bit more about how do you work with people? Do you see people at an office, or do you also do online coaching, or?
I do everything virtual, which is really
awesome. Oh, okay.
Because I have people globally, so I can help them online. I can help them on the phone. I do things with the postal. So if I have to mail them a hair kit. So it's nice. I don't have to have someone come to me. And sometimes they're so debilitated, they really can't travel far. So it works out really well. Things can come to them. They can order supplements. They can get their groceries locally. Yeah. So it's nice. It's convenient.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, well, let's tell people how they can get a hold of you.
They can go to my website always at hairanalysisnutrition.com, or they can call me for a 15-minute consultation. My number, do you want me to give them my number?
Sure.
You can. 651-462-1555. And what I do with my program is I'll take their hair test and we'll run that and we'll see where they are at and where they need to go. And then I'll walk them through detoxifying, healthy eating, different kinds of exercise that's good for them. I don't like people to over-exercise too much, but they really need to start moving. Just start slowly. EMF, I deal with some of that, and grounding, which is electromagnetically re-energizing your cells, especially like Minnesota. We don't get to touch the dirt too often because it's cold.
It's too cold, yeah.
It's too cold.
So you can't do a lot of earthing, huh?
No, so we have to have alternatives. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
It's like some days sand sounds great, but also I'm working with a few chefs to make videos to teach people how to cook vegetables so they taste good and they can eat them and flavor them differently, because sometimes it's a big mystery and they're just too fearful. And then at the end of 3 to 4 months, we retest to see what happened and what's improved and what have you started to eliminate. So it's a good measurement.
Okay. So your website, people, so you can contact Lisa at Hair Analysis Nutrition.
Yes.com.
.com. And do you have some videos and some training things on your website as well?
I do have a little introductory video on there, and I'm going to put one up there to explain the graph a little bit for maybe a minute or two so people can see what it looks like visually and what I'm talking about before they do it.
That'd be a good idea, yeah. And you're going to have some cooking videos pretty soon on there, huh?
Yep, that's going to be part of my program. I'm working with a couple of different chefs. They can choose which one is more their style and, who they want to work with, and just follow along, and they can pause it and cut their vegetables and then put it back on or rewind. So if they get stuck, they can do a tutorial. So it makes it easier for them, and it's not a mystery. And meal prep, so if they're working outside of the home, they can have it ready to go, pull it out of the freezer, and it just makes it easier to live healthier.
Yeah, no question about it. Okay, well, it's been so good. It's really informative. I thank so for all y'all good information. As I mentioned to you, I like to end our episodes with, what would you say would be like 3 really like bullet points or like takeaways that people that you want people to know, that can really something that they can really understand and maybe implement into their life right away?
Water. Please make sure you're drinking at least 3 liters of spring water a day. And I recommend spring water because it has natural minerals in it. Do your research a little bit on that, though, because there are spring waters that add fluoride, but it's not listed on the bottle.
Okay.
So I don't want them to be drinking those, and I can't mention names, but they can find that. Or contact me and I'll send them a list of what I found. The second is to get sleep, 8 to 10 hours, make it a priority. You deserve it, you need it. That's when you rebuild and you regenerate your body. And like you said, you clean out the brain. Mm-hmm. So they definitely need more sleep because they're stressed out as it is. And third, they need to exercise, at least a little, start walking, simple things that they like to do. That's fun, ride a bike, but just start to move. Everybody's a little bit too sedentary, and we need the air and we need to move.
Okay, and I would just add for you is that our mainstream medical system is they're pretty good for acute situations. They can save your life, put you back together if you have a big accident, and in some cases they're good at with determining what's going on. Although not always, just like you mentioned in your case. But as far as their actual treatments, not only are they primarily ineffective, but they're can be downright dangerous. So I would say that you really, if you're having some problems and you're definitely not getting results from mainstream medicine, you need to consult with someone like Lisa, who has another whole perspective on natural healing, and I'd highly recommend that people get a hold of you if they're having some unresolved health challenges. Yeah,
for sure.
Okay, so Lisa, okay, this is it. It was really good. Any last comment you'd like to make?
I just hope people will start to take better care of themselves. Particularly moms, I see a lot of times are so busy taking care of the world and not themselves, but they have to take care of themselves in order to take care of the ones they
Right.
love.
Absolutely.
Dads, dads need to do the same thing because they have a lot of responsibility, and we just need to take care of ourselves a lot better and put ourselves as a priority instead of the busy things.
Absolutely.
Our
Well
health
said.
is all we have.
Well said. Yeah, our health is our true wealth, our true asset. No question about it. Well, I want to thank you so much for being here. That was great. And also, as always, I always end my podcast to let people know. I remind you again that my new online wellness club is at beboldneverbeold.com, and I still had my special on. You can join for the first month for just $1, and you're going to get 4 personal training videos from me for just $1. So that's at beboldneverbeold.com. So once again, thanks so much, Lisa.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure.
It was my pleasure. All right. So I'm going to stop the recording.